Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. Myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday, the 1st of July, 2018, and we are nearly missing our time there. Again, myself and Steve chatting away and just losing track of time, talking techie stuff. Anyway, good evening, and again, great weather. What can I say? It's brilliant that we're having the weather over here in Ireland. I don't know how many years it's been since we've had this weather, but it's really good. Right, our guests on the show tonight are a chap called Walt, Silva, and a lady called Nancy Hopkins. Walt has been on the show before. We did half a show, Walt, and the information was brilliant. So we asked him to come back on to do a full show, and then we've added Nancy to the list because Nancy has loads of great information as well. So it's going to be a really good show, good technical show, talking about everything and anything, but mainly we're going to be talking about Shungai to 5G and maybe what's going on in the world with the bee population and what's happening there as well. So loads of information, folks. It's going to be a good one. Now, before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, here we go.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Yes, the OYM chat room can be found at oymradio.com, and you will see the link on the left-hand side for the chat room. And a big hi to everyone already logged into the chat room, and also peoplesinternetradio.com, or monitoring the chat room over there also for your questions, and a big hi to everyone there too. Also on oymradio.com you will see the links on the left hand side for the Skype, the YouTube, the anti-social media, Facebook, also the Twitter as well. You also see the important phone number, 046 927 1212. That's if you're going to ring in with questions from Ireland. If you're going to call in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. We also have links there on the website as well for the TuneIn Radio app. That's a free application for your smartphone or your iPhone. You can check out OYM Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Brilliant stuff. Right, so you're going to kick us off, Steve.
Yes, I'm going to kick us off. Yesterday we did our first visit to one of the food banks in Trim. We had actually arranged and confirmed to meet the lady in question at 10:30 in the AM, but unfortunately she had to pop out for some milk to her local petrol station, and unfortunately we actually missed her. So needless to say, it was a wasted trip. Alan was in communication with her, and she just kind of figured, yeah, she knew we were coming, but she said she needed the milk for the breakfast, and obviously she figured we were going to wait.
Yeah,
time is money.
Yeah, time is money. We don't have time to wait around, so we're going to have to reschedule that and get it sorted. But I couldn't understand why the fact that she knew we were coming at 10:30 and it was confirmed, that all of a sudden kind of she left at that time to get milk and not wait for 5 minutes until we turned up, because now it's kind of all wasted time. Anyway, we will attempt to try it again, and this time we will make sure that she's there. So we'll give you an update when that happens. Right, now we got an email from Carol about QAnon. I'm sure everybody knows about QAnon. You've heard it all over YouTube talking about QAnon, and obviously what is going on. Now, some people believe that Q is someone very close to Donald Trump releasing information, and others are saying it is Trump passing on information. So what do our listeners think about QAnon? It's all over the internet and people are talking about it. What do you think about it? Let us know. Send us an email, info@oymradio.com, and let us know, is it true? Is it a cabal just playing a game and winding people up? Or is it what the QAnon person is saying is it happening? So it'll be interesting on your take. We're on the fence, so we're not kind of going on either side. I haven't really looked at a lot of the QAnon stuff. Have you looked at that stuff?
No, I haven't actually.
No, I haven't really looked at it. So, that's what I'm saying. What do you think about it? Because we really haven't looked at it. Steve?
Yeah, independent.ie reports massive blow to vulture funds as home repossessions halted due to arrears miscalculations. Tanager admits incorrectly calculating home loan repayments. Vulture funds have received a massive blow in their attempts to repossess homes, it says. It has come about because a second lender was forced to admit it was incorrectly calculating arrears levels on mortgage accounts. The latest admission sees Tanager forced to withdraw legal proceedings against a number of property owners in arrears. The development is set to cast doubt over future moves by Tanager to take repossession actions against those behind on their repayments. It comes just 2 months after subprime lender Start Mortgages had to stop repossession proceedings after it emerged it had been miscalculating the arrears on the accounts.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see more and more of that, and more banks actually being caught out doing a few dodgy deals. So watch this space. It's all happening at the moment, and maybe that's a good thing when we see that, especially with the index-linked mortgages where people were actually conned by the bank. So I reckon we're going to see more of that. Right, how's your week, Steve?
Well, thanks to the good weather, I don't have very much to report because probably like a lot of people, a lot of the Irish people who are not able for this weather. I found myself kind of just, in work, then coming home and just flaking out on the sofa and going to bed early, not being able to sleep with the heat. But I still was up early the other morning going to work, and I did notice, as I mentioned just before we went live, that the skies are still in the mornings like a checkerboard. There's still a lot of heavy spraying going on around these parts. Unfortunately, it is what it is. We kind of thought that, when things started to progress and all, everything was supposed to be moving forward, and those people in power were supposed to be resigning, and everything was supposed to be getting put, sorted, as they say. We thought we would have seen an end to the spraying, but it seems to be getting actually worse. It actually got so worse that in my place of employment, one of the lads in there, who's very close-minded, I planted a few seeds, and he doesn't really kind of subscribe to anything that I have to say. But even he said to me, I actually never said this to Alan, but he said to me there on, I think it was Wednesday, when I went into work, he said, "Did you see the skies?" And I said, "I did, yeah." And he says, what do you call that again? Chemtrails, is it? And I went, well, that's what some people call it, or whatever you think yourself. And what the hell are they spraying? I said, I'm glad you asked, because I tried to tell you before, and I put them, I says, there's a little documentary, it will actually open your eyes, and that was, what in the world are they spraying, Michael Murphy? So whether he watched it or not, I don't know. But the fact that he even noticed it and mentioned it, it's a step in the right direction, because if he's noticing it, then maybe other people are, and they're asking questions. And we already have seen a testimony on the likes of YouTube where there are pilots actually coming out and testifying that this is not normal, Yeah. It is chemtrailing. So that was, I think that was around Wednesday. I was suffering with a toothache. And as you may or may not know, I was suffering with a toothache. It was a wisdom tooth, where all my knowledge was contained. It's now gone. It's gone. I've now made a USB key from the wisdom tooth. Anyway, so that tooth has now been removed. So there's a little hole in my mouth. But why is it when you have there's a small hole where a tooth was, but it feels like I've been punched in the face by Mike Tyson. The gum is still swollen. I'm finding it very difficult to eat. If anyone has any little old wives' tales or tips of how I can get the healing process to progress, or I know salty water, I've tried that as well, but it's if I could fade away.
You could.
From malnutrition.
I think it'd probably take about 2 years, though.
It probably would. Okay, and my father-in-law, we had a mass on today. There was a mass for my father-in-law. He was 12 months. He was a month dead today, so they have this month's mind mass, as it's called here in Ireland. I don't know if they do it in other places as well. So we were at that, and I have to say, the way we kind of say about the sheeple.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to watch the priest. Now, I don't generally frequent churches, as you know. I have my own set of beliefs, and I don't feel I need to be in the church to be who I am. Anyway, we were in the church today, and the priest, he was like the MC, he really was, and it was amazing just to watch the man work. It really was. He just picked up the thing, and he said, "We're now going to do this," and he started reading some stuff. And without him even having to ask, everyone joined in, and they were all talking from the hymn sheets, and it was beautiful to watch. It really was. But I'm looking at them thinking, wow,
that's called programming.
Exactly. I'm thinking, they're doing this and they're reading this and they're going through the motions probably every Sunday.
Yeah.
But do they ever question it? They obviously don't. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not having a pop at religion. I am not having a pop. I'm just saying about the sheeple mentality, whereby you can you can bring people all to the one place and you can kind of make them believe anything really. But he could have been saying anything up in that altar.
Well, it's programming. It's amazing. I haven't been inside the church apart from when you had your father-in-law's funeral, and from being a kid and having to go to church because we all were dragged to church, that all that programming, is still in there.
Yeah.
And the words just come out, don't they?
They do.
And it's just, just amazing. And funny you should talk about that. Before we bring Walt and Nancy in, just on my week.
Because I finished. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay,
your week.
That's my week. Okay. I don't know whether people have noticed, but there's an awful lot of the kind of Christian rapture YouTube videos out there at the moment, and they're all predicting the rapture. They all have their whiteboards out, and they all have their timelines drawn out, and this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and to be honest with you, a lot of the dates have come and gone. One guy in particular said he was 99.999999% sure that the end of the world, the rapture, was going to happen on the 24th of June. So I said, right, I'll watch his video on the 25th and see what he said. So the next day, the 25th, he had a video, and he said, I don't understand it, he said. Everything, all my calculations are right. I don't understand it. Anyway, he says, I have another date for you. And I'm warning you there, if people like the information and the things I do, why don't you donate to my ministry? And, all over. Every second day is the rapture, by the way. Every second day. So they're going to be right someday. But by the law of averages, they have to be right someday.
Well, sure, look, as we said before, I mean, when you look back to the late 60s, early 70s, you had the men going around with the sandwich boards.
Yeah.
And the end is nigh. The end is still nigh.
Yeah, it's still nigh. It's still going, and they're all there with the whiteboards and the calculations and the timelines, and they're telling you why it's going to be on a particular date, and then nothing happens, and you go, well, I don't understand. Oh, I found a flaw in my calculation, and then they go back and they change it, and there's another date. Yeah, I don't know. Fair play, for them putting the effort in, but, it doesn't happen. And there's predictions for July, by the way, folks, and predictions for August, and also predictions for September, and October, and December.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe it's gonna be one of them, I don't know. Right, okay, we'd like to bring our guests in, but before we bring Walt and Nancy in, Steve's going to give us a breakdown on their bio.
Okay, just a little bit of information on Walt. Walt has always worked as a scientist and experimenter, seeing the connections and relationships between things, mostly unseen by others. After more than 30 years of studying and practicing spiritual disciplines, Walt can see how the spiritual, the mental and the physical affect each other. It is a non-stop reciprocal relationship. Always following the desire to help, he has developed machines, devices and healing modalities to help family and friends. It is this desire that led him to research and find ways to help others by changing and healing the energies around us. As always, help can be offered and presented, but can never be forced on anyone. The free will and free choices of others is of paramount importance. And that's just a little bit about Walt. And Nancy, as a US Army intelligence officer, Nancy was trained in concepts of electronic battlefield and electronic warfare, where EMF and Wi-Fi frequencies are critical components to war. It took decades to realise electronic warfare was not just being used against perceived enemies, it was being conducted on the US civilian population. From spying on everyone to attacking the population energetically with the telecommunication network, there has been a silent, invisible weapon unleashed by the financial/industrial complex that is either doing it with purpose or just does not care about the health consequences of their actions. End result is the same: we are screwed. Except for a gift called Shungite. And with Shungite came the ability to fight back. Nancy will be sharing her journey to understand the seemingly magical Shungite and what it can do from her perspective, and the new science of enerology.
Brilliant stuff. Good evening, Walt and Nancy. How are you doing?
Hi there. Good to be back.
Good stuff. Nancy?
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us both.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us tonight, and it's great to have you both on, because we did a short half a show with Walt a couple of weeks ago, and it was great information. So we asked Walt to come back on, and then when Walt mentioned about yourself, Nancy, and your background, we said, great, if we can have the two of you on, we can talk about the problems, and then we can talk about the solutions. Now, there's a number of topics we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about 5G and the fact that it's not just about radiation, but it's a weaponized system. And I was talking to let me just say, an individual during the week about the weaponization of 5G. And I won't go into too much detail over it, but I will say that if people think about internal combustion, the way you see people that they just blow up or go into flames, nothing else around them goes on fire, just them. Well, the individual said to me that the weaponization of 5G has the possibility of doing that to your body. Right? Now, so we can talk about that weaponization, or talk about 5G, but we also are going to be talking about the solutions, the likes of the shungites, and we also want to talk about the bee population and what's happening with the insects, which is very important, and people are not realizing what's going on. So, Walt, if you don't mind, we'll start off with Nancy. And Nancy, if there's anything you want to add to your bio, go ahead, and then if you want to talk to us about why you want to, how important this is regarding the insects and the die-off of the insects.
Well, yeah. Let's start with kind of setting some of my credentials, because what I am going to be telling you sounds like it's out there in magic and boo-boo. It's not at all. So I want to tell you how I got involved in this concept of electromagnetic/Wi-Fi. Why I have been on a mission for over 40 years. When I was in the Army, I was the Soviet military expert for the U.S. Army. My job entailed understanding electric and electromagnetic and radars and how you can see what a unit looks like because of their radars. I mean, it was all just battlefield electronics. But because I was this so-called authority on the subject of particularly the Soviets at the time, the Soviet Union, this was back in 1973, I believe, I got a call from somebody in my higher command, and they had been contacted by the State Department. And the State Department wanted to know if we knew if the Soviets had some kind of a weapon based on electromagnetic energy, or some kind of energy that could cause cancer in people. Because the State Department's Moscow embassy had an inordinate amount of cancers coming out in people who had been stationed there. So they called me. The State Department called the Army called me. And I said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, there could be a situation occurring, because I was the person who is supposed to protect us from the other guy doing things to us. I did not have a need to know what the Americans could do. Okay?
Okay.
But you get certain information that maybe you didn't have a need to know, but your buddy who's working the other side is telling you, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was a potential situation where you could send a microwave signal through a building, and in the microwave range, and the signal would go and become like a radio carrier, a radio signal carrier, because a radio goes out, it's got a certain, let's say, look to its electromagnetic frequency, the signal itself. And when it gets to the other side, anything that was added to that carrier signal is intelligence. So it's the same sort of thing. If you can modulate or change the carrier wave, then you can determine what changed it. And in this case, what would change it was a human voice. So they would put up this the Americans could put up an Wi-Fi signal that would then anybody speaking in the room, in the field of the Wi-Fi, would modulate that Wi-Fi signal, and when it was received, they knew what everybody had said in the room.
Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So my suspicions, knowing that the Soviets were the best in the world at this, that they may have done the same thing. And so I said, get the NSA to go take a look at what might be happening in the embassy. And I said, they're looking for Wi-Fi frequencies, which are, much different than your normal frequencies. And God bless this guy, because he called me back a few days after that, and he told me they had found it. Now, a lot of people wouldn't have bothered to have done that, but it was a courtesy to me that he came back and he said, my God, we found it. And I said, you found it? You found one? Where was it? And they said, behind the Great Seal in the conference room. And I said, there's many more. Go back and look again. Now, he didn't come back to me to tell me if there were more or not. But that's how I got introduced to it, because it went from being a theoretical way of being able to obtain intelligence to something that is like, wow, this might be a little dangerous. But I was also the safety officer for my unit. And so I was read in as a safety officer on certain situations that they were seeing occurring, including the fact that people who were working with and around and maintaining radars were coming down with a lot of brain cancers.
Do you know Barry Trower, Nancy?
No, I do not.
Okay, Barry, just to add to your story there, Barry Trower is a physicist that was trained by the UK government on this technology as well, and he also confirmed your story. He said the same thing about Moscow and about people getting cancers through Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah, it's actually now in textbooks. I was talking to one kid that was in the business, and I was trying to tell him how dangerous it was, and he said, wow, he said, you know about that? And I said, no, about the, and, I was intricately involved in it.
Okay.
I shouldn't have had the information I had to be able to tell them to look for it.
Okay. Yeah.
But, so that's the only reason that I got read into it so early in the game. It was one of those, because a lot of what happens in life is that you get this, synchronicity. You get led down a certain road.
Yeah.
And I can tell you my life has been, somebody's been leading me down this road, because I had a lot of different experiences that uniquely trained me to understand a new concept of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And that's basically the story of Shungite and the story of, my brother, I found out that my brother, he was a civilian with the Navy, I knew that. But then one day, when I was about 35, he's only a year younger than I was, we got to talk, and I found out he was working around these radars. And I tried him, I said, please, just listen to me, and he wouldn't even listen to me. And he died from a brain cancer that is directly tied to Wi-Fi.
Dan, we've been trying to educate people for years on OYM about the dangers, and we've had so many experts on, from Martin Pal, who was actually talking to on email the other day. Martin Pal has been on, Ollie Johansson, Barry Trower, Jerry Ryan, Jerry Flynn, and also George Carlo, Dr. George Carlo. He's been on. We've had so many experts on the show anyway, talking about the dangers of Wi-Fi, and Barry Trower will say that anything over 300 megahertz is microwave and dangerous. And that's what we have to kind of look out for. This is like his experience. He was trained by the UK government in interrogation. And he's in the 70s now, so he was familiar with all this tech in the 60s, when he was working for the UK government. But what I'll do is I'll pass over to Walt for a minute there. Walt, do you want to tell us how you met Nancy and your understanding of this technology as well?
Okay. As I said to you in the previous show, I had been for a short while. I was part of a group of people that there's a healer gentleman who does online healing sessions, and he had a radio show 3 times a week. So I was part of that group, and a member of that group sent me a recording of a radio show by JP of Walt Spirit Radio, where he's interviewing Nancy. So that was the first time I heard her name, and she's talking about shungite. And prior to that, JP had mentioned shungite. I had bought a box of shungite from an eBay vendor, but I didn't have any information. Okay, what is this for? What do I use it? What is it for? All of the things. And in this recording of a 2-hour show, Nancy talks about everything she knows about the shungite and about the energy field of each nugget and how they resonate with each other. So there was so many insights in there. I said, I can use this. I can work with this. And that's when I discovered that splicing shungite to a coil makes the coil get cold, because the organ and the wire is flowing, according to my dowsing, 4 times the speed of electricity. So in that show, she mentions that she needs someone to help her develop the technologies and applications based on shungite. She says, I know what it does, but I don't have the know-how how to put it together. So I asked JP to give her my phone number, because I didn't know how to contact her. So JP was the go-between between us, gave her the house number, and she called the house, and I think we spent something like 2 or 3 hours on the phone discussing different things, and that's how everything got started. And every time she has a need, I just apply what I know to get it, like she needed. Okay, what do we do with cell phones? So that brought about the creation of the stickers, and different stickers, by the way, because they're for different applications. And then she said, I want a rubber that has shungite in it. So that gave birth to the shungite rubber, which actually is a different application of shungite.
Okay.
So whatever these so.
Okay, no, we will get down to the solutions, and we are going to be talking about shungite, because I want to talk to you about the device that you gifted us, and it's on the electricity cable at the moment. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing the bill. I don't normally say that about bills, but I'm looking forward to seeing the electricity bill coming in to see if it's made a difference, and of course we'll give you feedback on that. But I know the issues that we need to talk about there's a couple of issues before we get into the solutions with the shungite. But so if we get through them, and then we can start talking all about the energies and the shungite and the benefits of shungite. Nancy, I know you were talking, as I said, about you wanted to talk about the bees and what's going on with the insects. Do you want to kick us off with that?
Sorry, I was muted. Sure, we can do that. Well, you started talking about the 5G. Let's go with the 5G right off the bat. Let's get that behind us, because it's a different thing. Okay. One of the problems that people are having with 5G is the fact that we had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and every time that happened, it was a new generation. So 4G is the new generation of the existing system. All right?
Yeah.
Now, all of those, 2, 3, 4G, they all run between 1 and 4 gigahertz. All right?
Yeah.
Now they come out with 5G. So everybody assumes that 5G is the 5th generation. Absolutely not. This is not the same thing. It's an entirely new system. And instead of working on 1 to 4 gigahertz, we're working on 24 to 90 gigahertz. Okay? It's not the same thing. But if you talk to the people that do your internet, they keep talking about 5G. And I'm like, I'm going, what is the problem with these people? And then I said, there's something that is mind control, right? Something is in there. What is the problem? Well, the problem is these they came out with new cable boxes. Here in the States, I don't know what you got there, but the new cable boxes, now, everything was running on 2.4 gigahertz, and everything was fine. Then, we got to have new cable boxes. They replaced all the cable boxes, and now there's 2.4 gigahertz and something that is 5 gigahertz, okay? 5G. So they tell the technicians that it's 5G and 5 gigahertz. Anybody that's a technician would know the difference, but it's the way they present it. So when people start talking about 5G to these people, they think they're talking about the 5 gigahertz. So even the technicians don't even know what in the hell they're talking about. It's a complete mind game. So let's just look at the 5G. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the same system that's in your microwave oven. Now the carrier wave that we're talking about with the 4G, is a very long signal. It goes from, you look at the antennas, you can look at the cell towers, and you see that there's quite a bit of difference, distance between these cell towers. It's the distance, the entire length of the signal. When you're talking Wi-Fi, you're talking that you need an antenna system every 2 to 10 homes, every 800 feet. Okay? Because it's a totally short signal. Well, those short signals are hitting your body like boom, 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 like that. Not like you get when you get the, 1 to 4 gigahertz, where you're getting like, ooh. Okay, so right from the get-go, just think about, beating somebody continually like that versus a one, kind of smooth thing. These things are so dangerous that it is, to anybody that understands it, it's almost, you get a cognizant dissonance because you can't believe that anybody would even think to do this. So why did they think to do this? Is it for communications? Hell no. We have plenty of communications. We don't need it any faster. We don't need it anymore. So why are you endangering and putting up all these antennas all over the place? Why are we doing this? To control. The original weaponized concept of all of this was to make a weapon. It didn't come out because they wanted to make communications. They designed it to be a weapon. It was for crowd control. Initially, well, that's the way they sell it. They sell it to the public that it's crowd control. So what do I mean by that? Well, they turn this thing on, a microwave signal comes out, and it makes you feel like your skin is burning. Because why? Because your skin is burning. Okay, so but you feel like that, and you can't even think because you're mentally you're being attacked by these things too, and so you can't fight it, so you run. So no more crowd, gone. So they got, I forget which one they went with. They had them all building them, but I forget which company got the contract. But the Army put them out on the battlefield. Now the problem is these things got like one antenna. And so yes, you can send it out and you can cause a crowd dispersion. But there's a problem with it. Now one of the first things they did was they had a bunch of reporters come to a military facility, and they were going to show them this new technology, so you didn't have to shoot people. You could get them with this stuff, right? And so they turned it on. Well, they actually turned it on the reporters. Now the problem was that it was a very humid day and it was a very cold day. So on the skin of the reporters, it felt like they were warming up, and it actually felt good. Well, now you see, this is the fundamental problem of one antenna. You can't control it.
Yeah.
You can't focus it. So, if you can't do that, then why not put antennas all over the place where you can control the entire crowd of America?
Now, just to add to that, and regarding the weaponization of 5G, the individual I was talking to, they said they actually seen this, and this is their experience. They said that you've all heard of internal combustion, where a human body just bursts into flames and everything else is okay around it. And this individual said that there's chemicals in our bodies where 5G can be focused at this individual or whatever, and it'll look for this particular chemical in the body, and it can cause internal combustion with this. And this is why it's weaponized, because that's how good it is. Now, I can't really say more than that because there's certain things I don't want to say just yet. But this is what he said. He's seen this, and it wasn't new technology. Put it that way. It wasn't a new thing. This was in the past. He's seen it. And as we are talking about the weaponization of 5G, well, that kind of makes sense. You know, that the fact that they could actually use this against the people, or if they could localize or focus that energy, and I'm sure they'll probably be able to, all they have to do is increase the volume or increase the energy or the power when they want to, and then cause, you know, mass radiation in the people, or, you know, or maybe just in mass internal combustion, maybe.
Okay, again, I have access to information other people don't have, and that may be what he was told or what he understood, but it is not exactly looking for a chemical, okay?
Okay.
What it is that these things are called psionic weapons. Each and every one of us has an electromagnetic field. Your 3D body is really an electromagnetic field. The reason it looks solid is because we all vibrate in the 3D at a certain frequency that is called frozen frequency. So it looks solid to us, but it's all energy. Now, what these machines are designed to do is not to target some chemistry in your body. It's to create an electromagnetic wave that matches the electromagnetic field that you are. So what they do is they simply target your target with you, and they put up this energy field that causes a disassociation of your atomic cohesion. In other words, the molecules just, boom, fall apart. And so if you are completely tuned in, you're going to be standing there, and then, yes, it's spontaneous combustion. You'll see a flash. All right?
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, of course, again, is getting the exact kind of match. So if you're off, if they don't have you really tuned in, what'll happen is that you'll either have a heart attack, you suddenly will lose your mind, you know, you'll become totally disoriented. So they can hurt you, they can kill you rather fast with a heart attack. But the actual combustion, you have to be dead on. Now, the problem again here is that there are a vast number of these different versions of human energy fields. So they could turn it on at a specific frequency, okay? And it could kill most people, because most people fall within a certain thing.
Yeah.
The problem is how do you get the people that have already shifted out of that norm? And so to do that, they have to be able to identify Nancy Hopkins's profile, electromagnetic profile. And so what they do with the smart meters is that they can send a signal. It comes in it just depends, but it's every 12 minutes around here. So it comes through the house, right? And it records everything in the house. Now, people say, yeah, they're finding out how much electricity I'm using because my refrigerator's on or am I watching television. Well, yeah, they're doing that, but honey, they're also reading your bioelectromagnetic field. So do they have me pinpointed? Do they know exactly what my field is? Yes. Could I suddenly stop talking to you because I've gone into spontaneous combustion that didn't even burn the chair I was in? Yes. This is all real. This is not sci-fi.
Walt, I think just Walt wants to jump in there for a minute. Walt?
Are you muted?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I was just putting a comment there on the chat about your explanation of them pinpointing your particular bioenergetic signature. Yeah, that's exactly what she said. It's an induced entropy. If you affect the entropy of anything, you can disassemble it. So that's what they do. You know, what's the difference between frozen ice and boiling water, the amount of entropy, the amount of physical disorder, so to speak.
So would this be like similar to an opera singer singing at the same frequency as a glass and it's smashing?
Exactly.
Okay, so just to break it down from a...
because you're hitting the same resonance, and that's how you take it apart.
Which is what Royal Raymond Rife did in the 20s with the Rife machine curing cancer. He found out the frequency of the virus, and then he used a signal generator to amp up the power to actually kill the virus and not kill anything else around it. So it can be used.
Correct. But remember, in his work, it's not the radio signal that did the work; it was the plasma wave.
Yeah.
The only purpose of the carrier, the only purpose of the signal was to stimulate the gas into becoming luminous.
Yeah.
And it was the plasma wave. That's what got in and did so he's essentially killing the virus with light, with modulated light.
And this technology can be used to cure and heal, but also, as we've just been talking about 5G, it can also be used as a weapon. Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
Well, I mean, that's the story, is we cannot allow this equipment to be put online. Well, because what they can do is, first off, the electromagnetic Wi-Fi system right now is muddling people's brains. The 5G system will be able to make us all zombies. So when they turn it on, you're not going to be able to think straight.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story. Stephanie Dietz, who's our partner, she was in a complex where they actually probably put 5G in, because they're putting it in without telling anybody. And she had an immediate reaction to whatever was happening with this new system they were putting in this complex. But what happened to the people was that a place that was very, very active with people walking their dogs outside, around the pool, talking to each other, within a matter of days, all that activity stopped. And when she would walk by people, because she's got shungite, at least she's halfway surviving, but she'd walk by people that she would have conversations with before, and they would just walk right by her. They didn't even, talk to her or even seem to know that she was there. They're out to make us all into zombies. This is real. This isn't some crazy person talking. This is real.
Yeah, no, I totally. We did talk about a movie. Do you remember the movie that they did over here where they gave out the free Sims? So it was like a James Bond version of the movie. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
No.
People on the chat room, if you know the name of the movie, let us know. Where they had they gave everybody, this billionaire gave out all the SIM cards to people for free. And they could use the satellites to automate the frequency and then change them into murderers and killers. And he'd activate the frequency, and people start beating each other up and start killing each other and shooting each other and everything else. So obviously, Hollywood is used quite a lot to tell us what they can do or what they're planning to do or whatever. And obviously, I'm trying to think. We'll get the name of the movie now in a minute. I'm sure people will tell us what it is on the chat room. But that's something similar to what you're saying, Nancy, is that this is the control they have, because we had Mark Steele on the show, who's an industry insider, and he said they're cutting down all the trees because 5G is line of sight. So all the trees have to be cut down so the signal can bounce. And it's causing so many problems.
Well, I'm not familiar with that movie, but you're familiar with the fact that the dark side has to tell us what they're going to do, and we have to agree to it. You know that?
There's a universal consent thing that they have to do. Yeah.
Right. Well, they made an interpretation in that little law. And what it is that, we're going to show you what we're going to do, and if you don't say no, then that's consent. And that's why you see them in our face with all of this stuff in the movies and the television, everywhere. Because if we don't stand up and say, not on my turf, then we have given consent.
Well, the movie, thanks to my sister there, she texted in, the movie is called The Kingsman. And if you watch the movie The Kingsman, it's Hollywood. The multi-billionaire person. Oh, sorry, that's my phone going off there. Don't know who's trying to ring me there this time of night. The movie is Kingsman, and if you watch that, it's basically got to do with a billionaire giving everybody a free SIM card globally. And then what happens is, when he gets the satellites in a certain arrangement, he presses the button and they all turn into zombies and start trying to kill each other. So if you haven't seen that movie, Nancy, I recommend seeing it, because that kind of explains what they're probably trying to do with 5G.
Oh, I know what they're trying to do. I've known about it since 1976.
Right, okay.
I was read in on the fact that this was what was happening. I've been fighting this for a long time.
Okay, and so I'm just watching the time, and I know we have a lot to talk about. So, where does this tie into the insects and the bees and everything else? Because obviously we know that the Wi-Fi technology can affect nature in a lot of ways. So, do you want to tell us really what you want to cover on that side?
Sure. Now, the reason I wanted to hit the 5G is take that out of the... We can't allow it. We can't fix it. We just can't allow it. Okay, so we're just talking 4G, what's out there right now. Now, the problem with it, and Walt can give you all the scientific of it, but when they start the signal, the electric signal, it's actually rotating in a way that is contrary to biological life. So it's like two tops, each spinning in an opposite direction. And our cells are spinning so that it's biocompatible with all life. Now, we tell people, just think of it in terms of clockwise versus counterclockwise. Okay, it's just the easiest way to think of it. So we're spinning clockwise, and these EMF Wi-Fis are spinning counterclockwise. Well, your cells, when you're hit by it, they start to get agitated because they're being stopped from their normal rotation. Now, we've done work with this with cell phones, and in 2 minutes, a cell phone will cause so much redness in your head from your shoulder all the way through the other, virtually over the top of your head into the other part of your brain. All of that is heat. A thermography takes a picture of somebody and sees that before the cell phone, it's green and yellow. After a 2-minute call, now it's red and bright yellows. There's hardly any green at all. That's because your cells are being stopped from their rotation. Well, sooner or later, that's going to kill you. But right from the get-go, it's muddling your brain. Okay? So that's the problem. That's what is happening. Now, whether they did it on purpose or Walt thinks it's a conspiracy, I don't know. I know they're pretty ignorant in many, many ways. But that is the problem. So we come up with shungite. Now, shungite has got a unique property in it. It's a molecule called fullerene. It's a C60 molecule in the shape of a soccer ball. And when we talk about this, you're talking quantum physics. You're talking the concept that energy follows geometry. So the molecule is being hit with energy. But what happens is that the energy is following the same length of let's just say, line. Okay? The line is the same length. Each of where the molecules are, they're all the same angles. So you've got energy following angles and lines. They're all the same. And inevitably, they crash into each other like a front-end crash. And what happens is you get a null point, a 0 point. And every time you can create a 0 point or a null point, you open up the quantum field. So that's what the fullerene is doing. It's opening up the quantum field, the field that's got 90% of all that is. All that is built from the quantum, the proto-energy of the quantum field. And this is where we break from everybody else's science. This is when we go into what we call enerology. Okay, because we're looking at it from the standpoint of quantum physics. What's really happening energetically? So the shungite now produces a field that's rotating clockwise, and it's being fed by the quantum field, And it's such a powerful molecule that it's rotating 2 million times a second. Is that right, Walt? 2 million?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, it was 2 billion.
2 billion. See, I never get it right because my mind...
2,000 million.
My mind won't even go there. It's rotating 2 billion times a second. It's an extremely powerful field. So when the electromagnetic field hits it, this powerful field, instead of the electromagnetic field hurting your cells, the field is attenuated. It reverses. Takes about 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, and it reverses. And there you have it. You're in the same field. You've got the same functionality of the signal, but it's no longer beating you up. It's now biocompatible.
Okay, well, I'd like to bring Walt in there. I don't want to leave him out with the cold. But Walt, we talked about 5G, and what is the Shungite solution? Because I know you have a website and you sell various products. There was a comment in from one of our listeners. I think it was a Dougie, Steve, was it? Do you want to just mention that comment? It's just customer feedback, I think.
Yeah, Dougie actually just sent in some feedback in relation to the product, and he said, Walt, can you please make the lanyard longer? He had a little issue with the lanyard.
What is it that you're talking about?
Oh, what we'll do is we'll get Dougie to email us and we'll send it over to you. We won't take up the time on the show for that. We'll sort that out. So Shungite and the solutions for the 5G, Walt.
Well, that's I'm with Nancy on that. That yeah, Shungite will address it, but we don't want to address it. We just want to make sure that it doesn't happen. Because one of the things of course you can develop something that will protect you from 5G, but what about the rest of life? All the flora and all the fauna surrounding us. What's their protection? Yeah. Everything is going to get fried.
What is the solution? I mean, as you say, we can wear the necklaces and the pendants and everything else and put them on our phones and everything. But what about if we're growing food out the back garden and we're getting radiated by a 5G tower that's just down the road?
Exactly. So the solution is to go after the legislation, because Nancy was explaining to me, she knows more about this than I do, is that insurance, she explains it better than me, is that they have this clause in place where these power companies cannot be sued if you get hurt by their technology. But you can sue the legislature, and that's exactly what they did in Hawaii. In Hawaii, there are no smart meters anywhere, because what the community did, they went to the legislation and they said, okay, the instant one person gets sick, we're coming after you and we're suing you. So the legislation said, okay, no meters anywhere. And like Nancy has explained before, you need the 5G and the smart meters go hand in hand, because you heard her explanation. In order for it to be effective at targeting elements of the population, you have to have their biosignature, their bioenergetic signature. Where do you get that? You get that from the smart meter. So if homes are devoid of smart meters, the 5G is only 10% effective. They have to keep trying different frequencies until they finally hit a frequency that will affect most people, not everyone. What? So if you can if you can get rid of the smart meters, that you're halfway to, or more than halfway to getting rid of 5G forever.
Well, what if you don't have a smart meter, but your neighbor has one? Can you still be affected by it?
Nancy, what do you know about that?
It depends on how close it is for it to bleed into you. These things bleed. They bleed out at least 6 feet.
Okay.
At least, probably more than that, but I know it's at least 6 feet. So if you're walking by one on a wall, 6 feet away, you're like you're standing in front of it. Now, how far out it really goes, I don't know. And that was only one I tested.
Okay, that's interesting. We will. Do you want to talk about the bees now, or do you want to go over to the questions, because we've loads of questions for you?
Well, let me just address that situation, okay? Because All right, why are we so excited about the bees? Because the bees are how we can prove what we're telling everybody about everything is true. Now, the bees I did a correlation, not only me but other people. We've done a correlation between the proliferation of Wi-Fi and the decline of the bees. In particular, the decline that's called colony collapse. Because what happens is that the bees just don't come back to the hive. You've got worker bees that are there that are healthy. You've got queen bees, but the worker bees that flew off to get the nectar and the pollen, they don't come back. All right, so that was my first indication that was caused by Wi-Fi. Because why? Because they navigate on the electromagnetic field of the Earth, and if you're screwing it up, they get lost. All right, so I kept saying to people, because I have a radio station, I kept saying to people, please, beekeepers, contact me. I think that the shungite nuggets themselves will help the bees. So finally, this guy, Derek, he actually heard me, bought the shungite, and started working on his bees. And we don't have the time to go into this. We've got YouTubes up on it. It's amazing what happened. But basically, in 11 weeks, only in 11 weeks, he took 2 new hives, because the year before, he lost all of his bees during the wintertime from disease and mites. Okay, bolo mite and noceum disease, plus the fact that there was a certain amount of collapse that they just didn't come back. Okay, so he gets the new hives, he's got new bees, and he puts 3 shungite nuggets on the opening of the beehive. That's how it started, okay? Then he added shungite powder, which is it's sort of like put them into overdrive so that they would go into hyperactivity. And so he had from 50,000 bees in day 1, over 1 million bees in 11 weeks, half of which he was able to recapture and get into the new hives. So he went from 2 hives to 8 hives. This is unheard of. He had no mites, and he had no sickness, and he had no colony collapse. Most beekeepers, their bees fly out, because you're talking about an enormous number of bees when you're talking about this. They fly out in a day, and maybe 20,000 of them do not return. Wow. In a shungite environment, they make 20,000 every day. He just started up the second year. Okay? And this time he went and he bought from California beekeepers, who were the ones that supply most of they called nooks, they're little starter kits. Every one of those bees was sick. The mites were there. The sickness was there. They make little diarrhea streaks all through the hive. It was terrible. He's got 3 sick ones. So he puts them right beside the shungite one from last year. Because as you go through the winter, the bees die off. You end up with a small hive. So he consolidated everything until he's got this one really powerful but shungite hive. And he's introducing all the sickness to the hive. Because the bees will go back and forth, okay? Not only did the shungite hive never catch anything, in 3 weeks, these 3 hives went from sick bees into healthy bees. And they never should have survived. He put no chemicals on them. They should have all died. They did not. And on top of that, when he first got them, they were extremely aggressive. They were attacking him. Okay? And in 3 weeks' time, he can open up the top of the hive, put his hand in there, and they'll crawl on him, but they won't sting him. They've gone completely docile. Again, this should have taken at least a season, maybe 3 seasons, to get a docile bee out of a starter that was aggressive. Wow. This is astounding information. And what it's doing, it's proving our case. Yeah. That shungite can make the difference.
Okay, so but at the moment we know that there's a decline in insects. We just had a quick chat before we went live, and I was saying about the farmer who had this kind of pool at the end of his land, where a few years ago it'd be saturated with flies, and he went down recently and he had a look, and he said there was hardly any flies there at all. He said they're obviously dying off for a reason. So is that down to technology, or because we know that there's certain wildlife that are dying off, and it's a concern?
Well, there's everything. I mean, there's climate change, there's habitat loss, there's all of these other things. But it comes back down to the concept of the Wi-Fi. Okay, because if the thermography will show your brain going into red in a 2-minute call, what happens to these bees and the insects that are out there where they're getting hit continually by cell phone towers that have a lot more energy behind them? They're getting beat up, so their immune system is crashing. Because their immune system is crashing, they can't ward off the diseases. They can't make the genetic changes that they need to make to be able to accommodate the changes in climate. It's all connected.
Yeah, it's all affected. It's all about balance.
They think 76% of the insect community is gone. 76%.
That's incredible. And people don't realise it. They really, really don't realise it, about the food chain and how it works. And it's all about balance in life and nature. And so maybe the Soylent Green movie that we always talk about on the show, about, the prediction of 2022. The movie was done in 1973 with Charlton Heston, but they predict it's in the future of 2022 where they don't have food. It's all processed and God knows what else is in it. Recommend watching that. It's an eye-opener. Now, Nancy and Walt, we have loads of questions coming in, and we're going to try and get through them all. So we'll quick fire them over, and whoever wants to answer, or maybe if Nancy, you start, and then Walt gives his opinion on the question or whatever, we bounce them around. So I have two here before we pass over to Steve. One that came in earlier today, and by a listener called Kim, and she wants to know, could you ask Nancy or Walt if, which I think personally it is, electronic warfare is also creating fibromyalgia and fibromyalgia lumps on the body and limbs?
I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I'm not going to say that the chemtrails are innocent.
Okay, so obviously it's a whole mixture. Because
I would not go on either side. It could be both.
Right, because we talk about the chemtrail cough that people give out about, because strontium, barium, aluminium, all the stuff they're spraying from that, and God knows what else. Walt, do you want to comment on that?
The only comment that I have is that I'm aware of it, and I'm aware of it that modern medicine doesn't have a solution for it. In my particular case, I have these last few weeks I have been studying a system called energy balancing by number, which was developed over 20 years ago by a husband and wife team. And they do have the number for shutting down fibromyalgia. So it's just a matter of a person applying it to themselves. But it's a whole other subject.
Okay.
It's an entire healing modality.
Well, that's going to be another show, I think. I think we'll have to talk on that. Right. We'll have all these shows, all this information. It's great stuff. Right, Steve, over to you. You're going to do the questions there.
Okay, I'm just going to kick off with a couple of comments that came in from Dougie, and thanks for the input, Dougie. Dougie says he thinks I don't think people will care about the health effects of 5G. All they are thinking about is the faster data and higher gaming / downloading speeds. I think he's absolutely right there. He goes on to say, I think the younger generation really do care about the Earth, but they don't see a world without this technology, as they have been brought up with it. And unfortunately, that is correct. I mean, the millennials, I think, as they are called, I mean, they don't know a world without mobile phones. Obviously, we do. We're of a generation where we do, but they don't know this. So as far as they're aware, it's always been around them. And if it can make them game faster or be in contact with their social media even quicker, then obviously they're going to embrace it. And I think we're really going to have our work cut out trying to educate those. I mean, as I say, the people like us who know a world without this technology, I think we're more open to questioning it. But I don't know, I mean, Walt and Nancy, what are your thoughts on the younger generation? I mean, are they as close-minded about this technology as I would believe they are? Are they open-minded? And how can we convince them otherwise?
Where are the parents?
The parents?
Yeah, because I get the impression that these young people are raising themselves, because I was raised in a household where my parents kept nothing from me, and I was taught about good and evil from a very early age, because my father's philosophy was the more you know, the more you can defend yourself. Well, and it has served me well. I mean, where are parents and this? Because when I see, if I go to the park, or I'm walking down the street, or I go to eat someplace, and I see a 3-year-old holding an iPad, doing something with it, I don't think this 3-year-old went into a store and bought it himself or herself. Somebody gave it to them.
No, I absolutely agree. You're right. Well, I'm just saying, where I live, as an example, the place where I live, there's 38 houses, homes, and I think of the 38, I'm the only one that does not have Wi-Fi. I've actually spoken to some of the parents, and I see these children that you refer to with the iPhones. I know these children personally, and I have spoken to their parents, and I try to plant seeds, because I'm sure we can all agree, if you go headfirst into it and try to educate people and open their minds up very, very quickly, they will put up a barrier, and they won't listen to anything you have to say, and you'll be labelled a conspiracy nut. But I've tried to educate people in relation to the dangers of the technology, and this is just the parents, not even the children. Now, the parents, they don't seem to want to know. As far as they're concerned, well, the technology must be safe, because if it wasn't safe, sure, it wouldn't be available. And I find myself banging my head against a wall, because you're trying to educate them about the dangers to help their children, but they don't want to know, because as far as they're concerned, well, sure, the technology, sure, it's safe. And, I mean,
not only that, but it's also comfortable, because if I give this brat a little device, he or she will shut up and leave me alone so I can do my stuff, and because I'm tired of giving them my attention all the time. Well, who had them? It's your job to educate them and raise them and bring them up.
I totally agree. But I mean, but if the adults won't listen, I mean, the children are the future. If the adults won't listen, how can we get the information through to the children? Because if we can't, then we are screwed.
Mm.
Well, not really, because it's all consciousness. And one person, I don't know if you've heard of this lady who has been doing, right now she's writing books, but she has been doing workshops for years. Her name is Anelia Benz. And one of the books she wrote, which is actually based on a true story, is Interview with a Psychic Assassin. And this is the story of a very young girl that was taken from her parents. She was born in Costa Rica, and at the age of 12, she was taken from her parents and brought into one of these black government PSYOP secret installations here in the U.S., and she was trained to kill people psychically, because she had access to alien individuals who were experts at psychic manipulation, psychic penetration of others' minds. So what she would do is she would scan the body of a person, find the weak spot, wherever, find the crack in the crystal, and she would exploit it, and the person would have a stroke or an aneurysm or a heart attack, never having to touch them at all. And she could do this at tremendous distances, because part of her duties was to scan the collective. Any part of the collective. It could be a whole state, it could be a whole city, it didn't matter. She would be assigned an area. And wherever somebody was starting to wake up, her job was to eliminate them. Why? Because one person waking up in a population of 10,000, that sets up ripples. It's like a domino effect. Mm. It begins to impact the people around them. You never have to talk to anybody. You never have to see them. But you are affecting the collective. The more awake that you are, you're affecting thousands of people around you. We have this 3D limited concept that in order to affect change, I have to go out with posters on the street. We have to have a demonstration. We have to do signatures. We have to get a petition going on. Yes, these things are useful because they are useful, but they're not absolute. They are the manifestation of something else that's going on. It begins with consciousness. Your consciousness impacts everyone around you. That's why it's so important to always raise your vibration as high as possible. It's not even metaphysics. It's just pure physics, because if you read the work of Wilhelm Reich, the gentleman who coined the term organ. And he made organ concentrators, and he made an organoscope that you could actually visualize organ. He found something interesting in the physics of organ, which is life force itself, the etheric field, that in other energetic systems, like when we talk about electricity, for example, how does electricity flow? Well, it goes from this high potential to this low potential. It goes from where there's a lot to where there's nothing. Like a rock rolling down a hill. If a rock is up on a hill, it has very high potential energy. You push it and it rolls down the hill. So it's going from a place of high energy to a place of low energy in the valley, correct? Well, that's when you're talking about organ, when you're talking about energy of life and consciousness, it's entirely the opposite way. Low energy seeks out high energy. So that's why your high energy impacts everyone who's, it's asleep like a zombie. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to sit down and meditate, and it helps to meditate because it calms your thoughts and all of that good secondary effects. But you don't have to. You're that constant attitude of being awake and aware and present every moment. You keep putting out waves of that, and it affects the people around you. If that were not important, why would anybody think to train somebody to psychically eliminate those kinds of people?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, we talk about this when we did our talk last year, and we're doing another talk this year in November in the Open Mind Conference. Our talk includes raising your consciousness level, because it's not about intelligence, it's about perception as well. People's perception. But I'll tell you, Walt, we want to get through the questions. We've loads of questions here, so let's crack on with them. Steve.
Yeah, that book that you spoke of, Walt, Interview with a Psychic Assassin, I've actually got a link to that there. It's a free download. I've popped it up in the chat rooms there for anyone who's interested in checking that out. Just in relation to comments as well, Dougie says the problem is that as well as every pub and cafe, library, community centre, shop, hotel and town centre, etc., they all have Wi-Fi. He says, I wonder, do we have to become a hermit to be healthy? Well, obviously no, we won't be. Don't have to become hermits. But okay, how safe? And this is a question that I came across on the internet, and it says, how safe are health effects of 5G technologies? And it says the short answer is we don't know, and that's the biggest problem. We should evaluate the health effects of 5G before rolling out the technology. Now, we should evaluate the health effects of 5G before rolling out the technology. But we already know that the technology is being rolled out, and if there are studies, they're probably flawed. And I mean, if we go to, let's say, there's a local company who are rolling out this 5G, and I'll throw this in at Nancy first, but if there is a company and they are rolling out the 5G, and we as a community, we approach them and go, well, okay, hang on a second, we're concerned about this. We think it may not be safe. So if there is any damages, we're going to sue. We're going to sue the legislator, as you mentioned earlier. But we want to see, do you as a company, do you have some information that you can give to us as a community to say how safe that this technology is? They're obviously going to give us something. I mean, they can't just brush us away, but I mean, they'll obviously give us something. And as we've heard before, that some of the studies are flawed or fraudulent. So if we do, we don't want this 5G in our neighbourhoods, on these lampposts or whatever it may be, we're going to go to the companies, look for a safety statement of some description, and then we have to go and hit the legislator. Would that be kind of the right procedure, or what would you advise?
In the United States, the head of the government agency, the Federal Communication Agency, the guy that's the head of that, he said, we're not going to wait to see about the safety levels. He flat out said, we don't care. And why don't they care? Because in America, the companies will not be sued. They've already passed laws that said that you cannot sue the telecommunication companies.
That's exactly like the pharmaceutical companies with the Gardasil and the HPV
That's exactly.
vaccines. Same thing. Immune for prosecution.
So go after the people that are allowing these laws to go through. That's what happened in Hawaii, what Walt was talking about. They went and they gave them formal legal documents that said, if my family or myself have health repercussions because of the smart meter they were talking, then I am going to find you personally. I'm going after your money, your house, your everything. And by God, they just backed down. They didn't enforce it.
That's a good idea.
There's a website that has these documents that Nancy is listing. There is I'm sorry, I forgot. I didn't know this was going to be, part of the big discussion, but there is a website where these documents are actually posted online, so you can download them, and all you have to do is change the names for your locality. But it has all the verbiage and all the legalese, all that legal jargon that they use. It's posted for anybody to see and read, and they give you like step by step, what offices to go visit, where to turn in, who to present these documents to, who needs to sign it, everything. They give you step by step instructions. So it's not a secret. It's not some secret formula that somebody invented and nobody knows about it. No, it's there.
We would have to have somebody over here in Ireland to go through it, because Ireland, the law over here and the law in the States is different, and the way the setup is. So there would be probably quite a few changes, but still good to get it down, to get the verbiage, get the wording correct, and then just check the laws to make sure that what applies in the States, what the Irish version would be. That would be the ideal scenario. So if you do have that link, if you can send it over to us, Walt, that would be great.
I'll look for it and then email it to you.
Brilliant. That's
because
great.
I know we posted it in one of our shows where Colleen was the producer. She posted the links on the chat for people to go and consult. I'll ask her. She probably has that saved.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to mention is that it would be nice if somebody made I don't know if it'd be a waste of energy or kind of trivial, but to educate the public that 5 gigahertz is not 5G. That they're actually using that as a trick to get it under the covers of darkness.
Okay.
People are getting brainwashed. They say, I already have 5G in my house. It's not frying my brain. No, you don't have that. What you have is your router has 5 gigahertz capability. Because now I have that. My router has 2.4 and 5 gigahertz capability, but I keep the 5 gigahertz channel shut off because I don't have any devices using 5 gigahertz. I don't need to be wasting that energy.
Yeah.
But I'm aware of it. But people are not. They think, 5 gigahertz, 5G. They both begin with G, right? Mm-hmm. So they got to be the same thing. No, that level of ignorance has to be corrected because that's how they slip things.
That's
unnoticed.
That's the marketing. Okay, let's get on. Let's get on with the questions. We'll try to get more.
Can I just give you? I want to give you one thing here because I think it'll answer some of the questions people have. When you're trying to explain to somebody, the dangers of all of this, money talks, right?
Yeah.
Well, in 2015, Lloyd's of London, so it probably applies to you guys and all of your insurance companies, added exclusion 32. All right, and I'm going to just take a second here, pull up my notes, because I want to, be fair to these people and tell you exactly what it was that they said. Okay, a policyholder asked for clarification in this new thing, exclusion 32. And what was replied to them by the agent of Lloyd's of London, the people that make these laws, and it's on anybody's insurance policy right now. The electromagnetic field exclusion is a general insurance exclusion and is applied across the market as standard. The purpose of the exclusion is to exclude cover for illnesses caused by continuous long-term non-ionizing radiation exposure, i.e. mobile cell, Wi-Fi, directly or indirectly arising out of, resulting or contributed to by electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetism, radio waves, or noise. Now this thing is, if you can prove that that's what you got, your insurance company will not pay for it.
Yeah.
That's the smoking gun.
Yeah.
If they're so concerned that they have got legal exclusions in insurance policies,
And that's a good copy to have. We have mentioned this before about Lloyd's of London. They'll basically insure anything, but they're not insuring damage to mobile or wireless frequencies.
Ta-da!
Yeah. There's the giveaway. They will insure anything, but they won't do that. And if anybody wants to approach their school, and they can get a copy of this, which is online, and you can go, well, that's funny, because Lloyd's of London don't cover the insurance, so how come your insurance company does? By the way, we were told that what the people have to ask for is the risk assessment from the insurance company. Because all schools and public buildings and companies, by law, are required to have a risk assessment. And that includes everything, even Wi-Fi. And I bet you the bottom dollar, when you go to a school or any corporate company and ask them for the risk assessment for Wi-Fi, they won't have it. And if they do have something, you can be pretty much guaranteed it's BS.
A boilerplate report.
Thank you for that. That's a very, very good technique. Because, yes, the first time I heard about this exclusion was from an American school.
Mm. Yeah. Well, this is it.
It was on their insurance, and they said, what's this about?
Yeah. Well, apparently, over here anyway, you're legally required to have a risk assessment. So people are entitled, and I suppose if they do, give out and say, well, we can't do that, and say, well, you have the Information Freedom Act, you can pay €6 over here in Ireland, and legally they're required to give it to you. And they won't have a risk assessment done. Now, one of the things they're trying to do over here in Ireland, which we were told by a great guy called Walter Graham, was they're saying, we have our own insurance. So that means that, I'll say, hang on a minute, you have your own insurance. Does that mean that I can have my own car insurance? That I don't have to go to a company to buy insurance. I can have my own. I can make up my own car insurance. This is the excuse they're using. The schools, one school was saying, we have our own insurance. I say, it doesn't matter whether you have your own insurance. We want to see the risk assessment that says you're legally responsible for having that document and telling us that you have it covered. So that's just something that people can use, and the argument they can use. Let's crack on with the questions there, Steve.
Okay. This is from Graham. Graham is a question for Nancy. He says, in your opinion, Nancy, is HARP technology operating at high enough frequencies to cause similar cellular damage as 5G?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I say that because it's all the same stuff. If you got it's the same thing. An electricity will turn on a light bulb, but it'll also kill you in an electric chair. And the HARP system is an extremely powerful system. So yes, I mean, they're bouncing the dang thing off of the ionosphere. So yes, it can do it. Anybody that's living around these things are probably on, a short duration life.
Okay, that's fine.
But they hide them away from people, so.
Yep. Okay, and Graham also says he's painting. He's currently painting 5G lampposts with, I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Is it micaceous iron oxide industrial paint? Is that something that you might recommend, or is he just going to land himself in some trouble?
I have no idea, Walt. Walt has just popped off for a minute. He'll be back in a minute. Let's keep that for Walt.
We'll save that for Walt. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if that is something that might actually work, because maybe we could promote it.
Wait, listen, guys. We have stickers. You put them on there, and it's going to do it. We have magnets.
Okay. So we
got a whole slew of different products that will make the differences.
Well, we're going to be
proven.
We're going to be talking about the solutions in about 5 minutes. We're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about the solutions, and you can talk about them, Nancy. So if we can just fly through the questions, then we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Question from Joan. Joan says, Dr. Mariana Alves Pereira. She was here in Ireland 2 weeks ago. Amazing on low, high frequency noise. Do your guests know of this lady?
No, I do not.
No, okay. Right, maybe you can send us some more information on that, Joan. We actually found a link, Nancy, to your interview on YouTube with who's known as the Bee Guy. So I've actually put a link up there as well for anyone who may be interested in checking that one out.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dougie says, I wonder if certain individuals will be taken off planet because of all this. I don't mean nasty people, I mean future guardians of planet Earth. Any thoughts?
I think we got plenty of people working on us here. I don't know about the future. My attitude about the future is that, you can't predict it. You can only create it. And I'm really concerned about just creating because, I know this is going to sound drastic, but we've only got 4 years here. Forget about the 5G. To save the bees, to save the insects, to save the Earth from a complete biological collapse that is being talked about in scientific circles as the 6th extinction. Okay, it's being talked about right now, and has been. I'm just new into it, but 4 years.
Okay.
And that actually 4 years ties into what you're saying. I mean, even that movie Soylent Green, they're talking about 2022. That's 4 years.
That kind of ties in because basically I think the plants died off. If memory serves me well in the movie, and they're eaten. Well, what they're eating is not food, and there is a twist in the movie which I'm not going to say because it spoiled the movie. But I will. After the show, Nancy, there's a couple of links I'm going to send you of things that you'll find interesting. And I'll send you on them, and you can watch them, and you can read up and stuff, because people that you probably have not come across. But I would recommend, if you do have your own radio show, to get these people on, because they will they're all on your side, and they have done their research, and it's all good to share information. That's the good thing. This is why we do what we do in the radio show, is to share the information and educate people, and educate ourselves as well, because we're learning as much as everybody else. But let's talk about...
Can I jump in? I just want to jump in there and say something about... You're wondering, how do we make the difference? We make the difference when we have these conversations.
Yeah.
Because what we're talking about goes into the collective consciousness of humanity. And that's the key to everything. Everybody out there has an in to the collective consciousness of humanity. It doesn't take millions of people to do this. It takes people that are dedicated and focused. Don't think about how awful it is. Think about what we can do. And you do that by putting good thoughts into the collective. Yes, we've got a problem, but we can fix it. If we come together, if we communicate, if we're open and trusting of each other, not of the system, but of each other. And so I applaud you for the work that you do, and maybe you're underestimating how important it is to get to the collective consciousness. We can't talk to each one of them and make them aware, but we can get in their subconscious, into their brains.
Yeah, and that's it. It's ripples in the pond. We put it out there, and then, let it run and see what happens, and that's the whole idea. Let's talk about solutions, Nancy. And Walt, are you back at the moment?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, we have a question for you, Walt. We'll get over to you at the end. But we have about 20 minutes or so, and I want to focus on solutions. So let's talk about what you were suggesting about the cards, the shungite cards that you can put on lampposts, so you can actually have the opposite effect of what the 5G is doing.
Yeah, basically we have a series of stickers. There's stickers that when you put them, like we've got one that's called the Bucky Band-Aid. When you put it on an electric system, okay, that's very efficient. You put it on every device that's a secondary motor in it. So your hair dryer, anything, if there's a clock radio, you're fine just putting it on your router. But anything that has a secondary engine to it, like your washing machine, your dryer, your refrigerator, all those things. But over time, we developed a magnet that when you put it on the refrigerator or these bigger things, your air conditioners or whatever, it's not even comparative. Yes, you will find differences in your electricity. See, this is the key, is that when you actually turn the signals so that they are operating, in a way that is biocompatible with everything else, they're really much more efficient.
Yeah. And what about people that suffer? There's a lady that I know that is in severe pain and distress regarding EMS. electric sensitivity. And I did touch base with Walt about this, and she's finds it very, very difficult. Even going on the phone can be difficult for her. What's your solution to people that are suffering from EMS? Do you have a solution for them?
Yes, they have to they have to put themselves in a Shungite environment.
Okay, so
and what is a Shungite environment? A Shungite environment is when you have our stickers on the devices we tell you to put them on, our magnets on the things that we tell you to put them on, and that you're drinking Shungite water, and that you have energized your Shungite water system. And if you have gas, the gas system. We've been at this for 5 years now.
Okay.
We've seen the difference in people. My partner, Stephanie Dietz, her daughter is officially medically been diagnosed with hypersensitivity to EM. Okay? They're in a Shungite environment and have none of the symptoms anymore.
Okay, that's good to know. And are these cheap, these stickers?
Well, let me put it to you this way. To get the starter kit, which is our best seller, okay?
Yeah.
It's I think it's about $115, $120, all right? Once you buy that, once you put it on, you never have to replace it. Shungite never needs replacing. It never needs recharging. It's being charged by the quantum field. Okay? Now, you take a magnet, one's in that, but if, let's say you want more, I don't even know, I think they're maybe $40 or something, you put it on your refrigerator, you're going to get a 20% decrease in the electricity being used by that refrigerator. Now, if you want, Walt can give you tell you about the experiment that he did, proving the efficiency that we get when we're putting these things on motors.
Well, I wanted to touch base with Walt on this. Walt, this is a great time to talk about the device that you sent over to us, and I've actually actively put it on the power cable. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, I was waiting for your feedback because you were going to check on your next billing cycle.
Yeah,
so that you could compare that to previous cycles. So there's not much to say.
Yeah,
the only thing is that
it's a 2-month cycle, and I just paid the bill and then put the device on, so I've no feedback for you until it comes through. Yeah.
Correct. And the other thing is that Nancy and Stephanie are very energy sensitive. I mean, they can tell right away when there's a change in the state of their space where they're in. Whatever the change is, negative or positive, or even if it's just a change in the quality of the energy. I don't know if you are among people that have that ability, because, like I said, even if other people feel changes in their space when they put the resonator on the power line, but I don't know if you're one of those people. That's why I said to you in the letter, you might not feel anything, but at least you will see a savings in your power consumption. So what you might, because plants and animals don't have placebo effect. They don't know that. That's a human psychological thing.
Yeah.
If you have pets in the home or plants, they might react to the presence of the Shungite treating the power. Because remember you said you had really dirty power. That's one of the issues where you are.
That's right, yeah. Well, the electricity is normally dirty anyway with spikes, and ideally what you need is to reduce your bill alone. If you had some kind of a UPS or a kind of bridge rectifier or smoothing capacitors where you're smoothing out the electricity coming into the house, that alone would help you save electricity, because it's the spikes and the dirty power that's coming in which is, puts up the actual cost. I'm not electrically sensitive, touch wood. I'm not superstitious either. But there are people in Ireland, there's loads of people in Ireland, I mean probably a few thousand people in Ireland who are electrically sensitive, and we've had them on the radio show. We did a show with them, and there's one lady I am in communication with, and she's up the wall with it, and obviously I was waiting on this show to find out what would be a solution for her. Unfortunately, she is 80 and she's a pensioner and she doesn't have a lot of money. So, although $115 mightn't sound like a lot. Then
send me her address and I will send it to her.
Okay.
Okay, now we can't do this for everybody anymore because we've got thousands of customers.
Yeah.
All of our pricing is extremely low. I work for nothing because I'm there's so much into it. But we do our best to be able to support people, especially people like her who can say to you, no, it didn't work, or yes, it did, so that you have a voice to tell other people.
That would be brilliant.
So
yeah, she'd appreciate that.
Just get me, well, anybody that's 80 to me is my sister, my brother. We're all getting up there, and it's us guys that got to make the change, because it's us guys that remember what it was when we were free.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to give her a ring. We appreciate that, Nancy. I'm going to give her a ring tomorrow. And she's been moving houses. That's how bad it is. She's had to move house on numerous occasions because of this, and it's just driving her demented. Now, she's got an EMF or EMS hood which she puts on at night, which she said is a big help. But that's really as much as she can do, because all the other stuff is like way too expensive. So if we could use her as an experiment, that would be fantastic, and she could report back to us and let us know.
Well, one of the things that this bears mentioning for people that might question the capability of Shungite or what it can do. This is not even close to the placebo effect. This is real. You can confirm this. I take it that you have smart meters in Ireland. You know what they look like.
Well,
correct?
they're trying to. Well, no, they're trying to roll them out at the moment, and we know.
At least you've seen photos of one.
Yeah.
Okay, and you see that instead of the rolling numbers like your traditional mechanical meter, or needles, like in the case of my meter, it has an LCD, liquid crystal display, and you see the text.
Yeah.
And normally, I've been to homes that have them, and you'll see it'll say something, and then it's got like a cycle. It reports numbers, then it reports another number, and then it has this routine that it goes through parameters, reading out different values, not just power consumption. Well, I have witnessed this, Nancy has witnessed this at one point because of the need to address this issue of the smart meter. She asked me to develop a sticker specifically for the smart meters, and it's called a smart sticker. And I sent her prototypes, and she settled on which was the best configuration to treat this. So this is where her sensitivity comes into play, because she's able to sense the differences between this and this. She was able to ascertain, okay, this configuration, make them like this. This is the one that actually works, that is treating this. Well, you might notice on the website, on the part where it says the smart sticker, she had no choice but to recommend to people to put the smart sticker on the frame of the circuit breaker box. That actually came out of a need to have people put the sticker there. Why? Because we discovered that if you take the sticker and you apply it to the body of the meter, the liquid display, and mind you, there's no metals in the stickers. So it's not electric and it's not magnetic. Mind you, it's just, the shungite treated in a specific way.
Yeah.
When you apply the sticker to the body of the smart meter, the digital display turns into ASCII crap. It just turns into gobbledygook, symbols and things that don't look like anything at all. So if you leave the sticker there, eventually somebody from the power company will come in and tear it off.
Okay.
That's how strong shungite is.
But will they not turn around and say that because for legal reasons you cannot touch our meter and putting stickers on the meter? They can be a bit funny. I thought the idea would be if you could, there's people making covers that screw on over the meter using some kind of mesh. So if you had a similar system that you didn't actually physically have to go near the meter, but you could cover it in some way with shungite, where it actually affected in a way that it's just like it still work with power, but the whole wireless thing just would be.
All you take is a smart sticker and you stick it on the fuse box. That's exactly what it does. You do not need a Faraday cage.
Okay, cool. Okay, stick it on the fuse box. Fine, fair enough. Great. Okay.
Remember, it's grabbing the quantum field. It's extraordinarily powerful. 2 billion times a second. The whole thing is rotating in energy. It's awesome.
Brilliant. Okay, we have a question for Walt. Walt popped away for a minute, and we just want to ask Walt that question that a listener had. Steve?
Yes. This is the one about the paint.
Yeah.
Yes, Graham got back. He's not actually painting the lampposts at the moment, but he is planning wide-scale painting. Yeah, Walt, you missed this question. One of our listeners, Graham, he said he's thinking about painting if and when 5G is rolled out in his area. He's going to paint the lamppost with I think it's a micaceous iron oxide industrial paint. He says that the painting is supposed to shield from EMF. Is that something that you can talk about, you know about?
Well, the thing is, I've discussed this with on our shows, and I've answered this question when people have written me email messages. The issue with shielding is that it's a partial solution, and for it to be effective, you have to be shielded 100% of the time. Essentially, the best shielding would be to live inside an astronaut suit that's grounded. And that was it. You know, you only come out to go to the loo, and then you can put your suit back on. I mean, that's the only solution in shielding.
Yeah.
Because it's always incomplete. It's always partial. But with shungite, there is no need for shielding, because all of this energy that's essentially hurting you because it's spinning incorrectly, the shungite grabs it and changes the spin of it. So if he wants to do that painting thing, I suggest that he gets shungite powder and put it in the paint. All he needs is a tablespoon per gallon can. I don't know how paint is sold in the UK and Europe.
Teaspoon.
A teaspoon, yeah. Teaspoon, that's all you need. Yeah. Mix it in there and then paint whatever you want to paint. And that's it. Then all the energy that's in that area, in the proximity, the post that you're painting, all that energy is being treated. You don't need to shield from it because it's not going to be affecting you negatively.
And what about in the home?
I got to jump in here again because technically, if you use just the regular raw powder that you get, that's not going to be enough. You need S4 shungite powder, and that's a whole story in and of itself because it's just a long story. But it's not. You're not going to get that effect unless you have silver saturated shungite powder.
Okay.
So my question was, and it's a question that Joan asked earlier. I know you can get the stickers for all the different items in the home, but would it be enough if one had a large enough piece of shungite just in the home? Would that be enough to do the whole house, as opposed to, say, putting stickers on all different devices?
No.
Not even if it was a big lump of S4?
No. And the reason being is that I've got big, huge bricks of shungite here. Okay, I was working with the big bricks. And this is where Walt really brought us into a new paradigm of understanding shungite. Because I'm saying to Walt, I said, Walt, why have I got in my hand a huge, 2-pound brick, and in this hand a 5 grams worth of shungite, and the 5 grams feels more energetic to me? And it's because the smaller you get with shungite, actually the more energetic you get, because you're sort of more matching the quantum field. That's why we work with the powder. It's the more energetic form of shungite.
Yeah, and in powder, all the particles are resonating with each other. That's one of the clues of why shungite is so energetic. Why a single 5 kilo piece is not as energetic or as effective as a little teaspoon of powder. Because in a teaspoon of powder, you have billions, if not trillions, of particles, and they're all interacting with each other.
Okay.
That's what I mean, and that's why we tell people for the shungite water, put 3 nuggets in the water, because that's the minimum that you need of energetic interaction between shungite particles. 3 is the magic number.
We'll have to make sure we wear pendants all the time then, so they're nice and small, but they'll do the job. Guys, Nancy and Walt, we have reached that time. Very quick, Steve. You always have one question to get in there. Okay, quick fire over. Okay. We try and get it through quick.
Yeah, Peter's wondering regarding the shungite magnets, or even any piece of shungite we can throw in there. Would it be of any benefit if he was to put a couple of these in the ground close to 5G towers?
5G cannot be allowed, period. That's my attitude. No.
Yeah, don't treat it. Just get rid of it.
Okay, well let's say let's just say 4G. If there's 4G towers in the area pumping out 4G, and he wants to kind of maybe neutralize that or do something with
you
it.
need S4. You need the S4 in it. You need S4.
Right. So if he has,
you could use magnets are made with S4.
Right. So if he had the magnets.
If you can put the magnet somewhere out of the way that it cannot be seen, so now nobody can come along and what the heck is that, and then pull it off. If you can conceal it some way, because of the magnetic field, the entire tower is going to be resonating with the shungite signature, energy signature.
But would one small magnet with the S4, if someone was to get close enough to a cell phone tower and let's say throw it up at the tower and it's stuck to the tower, would one magnet be enough to do all the work?
Yeah, because it's what happens with the fridges. The entire fridge begins resonating, and milk lasts like 3 weeks. Produce lasts like 2 or more weeks. The food tastes better, and you end up using the entire thing just changes. The entire energy signature of it changes. That's
Brilliant.
the thing with shungite. You give it an energy field, it grabs it, and it treats it immediately.
Okay, well, listen, unfortunately we've reached that time. We're definitely going to have to do another show, guys, because this is it. This is great stuff, and there's loads more to talk about, and we've just ran out of time. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to Walt, Silva and Nancy Hopkins for coming on the show and sharing us this information, very important information about shungite and what's going on and how we can solve the problem. Nancy and Walt, thanks for coming on. I'm going to pass you off to Steve, and if you can give Steve all your details there and where to find you and all that. Steve?
Yeah, well, I want to say thanks as well, guys. We do have the most important link of the evening, and that is cosmicreality.net /store, and you can pop along there, and that is a great place to check out all the different products that you can get with the shungite in it. I'll throw it over to Nancy first. Nancy, do you want to maybe just give some links there for people who want to find out some more information about you and your work?
Well, they can go to cosmicreality.com, and that's the radio station. It also gives you the links to the YouTube stations and my books. And you can get my books PDF free. I'm not charging anybody for these things. You can get them on Amazon, but you can get them for free. Also, we have Facebook groups. We have the Shungite Store, we have Cosmic Reality Group, and there's also Shungite Beehives group on Facebook. Again, all those links are contained on either cosmicreality.com or cosmicreality.net. And there's a tremendous amount of information on the websites that you can get through shungitebeehives.com.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Great stuff. And Walt, how about you?
Well, my website is newparadigmtools.net. That's tools, plural. And that's where you can check out some of the devices that I make.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, Walt and Nancy, a great, brilliant interview, great information there. Just stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, we're back. We do have the links there. I'm going to post the links up on the chat rooms there for Nancy's website and also for Walt's website, so you can get loads of information and also order some of the products as well. We know some of the lads on the OYM chat room have actually purchased the products. An issue with the lanyard and the length of the lanyard. I suppose you have to have a long lanyard. Nothing worse than a short one. Okay, do you know what this? I don't know. It's in the gutter of the show. It's getting worse.
You mean you're getting worse?
I am getting worse. Yeah, but we will. I'll pop up the links there, and yes, maybe if we all just going to take the plunge. I know I'm in $115 for a start. I know it's a big ask. It really is. Yeah.
It really is. So look, it's very nice of Nancy. If she's going to do that for this lady, that would be fantastic, and then we can ask her to give us feedback on how she gets on. That would be fantastic. Just a few things to announce, a few things on the list. Next week, our guests are Byron Jenkins from the Hub. The Hub are doing sterling work, helping people for free to stay in their homes and fight the banks. And we've asked Byron to come on to give us an update on what's been going on and what him and his wife, Adrian, I believe her name is, and what's happening with them and what's going on. So Byron's going to be on. And next week, also on the second half of the show, we have Katrina Kavungu, who's the regressional hypnotherapist who I went to see last week. And we'll be talking about therapy and my therapy and basically therapy in general and what her experiences are and what she's seen and things that have come out of people from a spiritual point of view and not nice things, So that's going to be interesting. Next week we also have the United We Start next Saturday, the 7th of July, is we have the United We Start Radio Marathon. So we'll be putting up information on that as who's going to be coming on the show, and just keep an eye out for that. And I'm going to read the second one, which is just kind of happy July 4th to all our American listeners. Hope you have a good July 4th there. Have to enjoy it during the week. We don't celebrate it, but you guys do.
I'm sure some of us do. I mean, there will be celebrations. Mark my words, when the news broadcast is broadcast on the 4th, as I think RTE generally do, they generally kind of mark the day in some way.
Okay, no problem. And what are you going to tell us, Steve?
Okay, I'm going to tell us that those of you who are fortunate enough to have visited the Hill of Tara in County Meath on the summer solstice last week were treated to one of the most amazing displays ever, a gold-coloured, full-size replica of the Ark of the Covenant. There was a signing and singing. It wasn't a signing, it was a singing. There was singing and shofar horns were being blown. Groups gathered around to hear the legend of how a Jewish princess named Tepi and the Bible prophet Jeremiah brought the real Ark of the Covenant and the real Leah Fail stone from Jerusalem to this ancient and mystical capital of Ireland over 26 centuries ago. Recovering the real Ark of the Covenant needs to be the centre of focus of the conservation plan that is being put together for the Hill of Tara. So please contact Josephine Madigan, the current Minister for Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht, at josephine.madigan@oireachtas.ie. I will put that link up on the chat room, and let her know in no uncertain terms that Ireland needs to recover the long lost Ark of the Covenant.
Now, the belief, there's a few people that believe that the Ark of the Covenant is not only, some people say it's buried in the Hill of Tara, other people say it's buried in Wales, and it could be buried somewhere else over in the Far East. There's a lot of speculation on that. The other thing that they talk about is that to actually open the Ark of the Covenant, you're supposed to have vibrate on a certain energy. And if you don't vibrate in this energy, it will basically zap you and kill you. It's a bit like Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they opened up the Ark and they said, don't look. And of course the soldiers looked and they all got zapped by the Ark. So apparently the Ark is very powerful, loads of energy. What we've heard is that it contains, one of the things it contains anyway, is crystals of the history of mankind. Whether it does or not, I don't know. It's, again, speculation. I've never seen it, so I'm only going by what I've heard. But is it in the Hill of Tara? I mean, a friend of mine who's an archaeologist, the two of us went down to the Hill of Tara, and he stood me right where the belief is that where the Ark of the Covenant is buried. And I know in the early 60s they did try and get permission to dig up the space, but they weren't successful with it. And I don't know, should it stay there? Should it be dug up? If it's going to be dug up, how do you know, if it's the whole energy vibration thing, how do you know who the person is that's going to vibrate at the energy to open it, or who's going to take a chance of doing it? Yeah, there's a lot of kind of questions there, alright.
But sure, if you're wearing the Shungite suit, you'll be grand.
You'll be fine. Put the headset on. Great information from Nancy and Walt. I mean, we could have went on another 2 hours to talk about Shungite and the benefits of it. Myself and Steve, as we said earlier, came across the benefit when we went to a Pain Genie training course, and we met Cam, I believe her name was.
Cameljet, that's correct.
And she showed us the Shungite, and that's when we got introduced to Shungite and the powers of Shungite, which is very interesting. We have a few bits dotted around here in the studio. Steve, you have some in your car as well.
I do.
So the only way to do it, to try it, is maybe to go and buy some of the Shungite cards, which are fairly cheap, and see how you get on. Is there changes of energy, especially if you're sensitive to energy and you pick up on it. then that would be interesting. That would be very interesting to find out. And then if people did that and let us know, that would be great. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, if it does work, I have heard about this, the way water, you know, the positive, the twirling of the energy.
Yeah.
Is clockwise, and
the vortex,
and then obviously the stuff that we're using is all anti-clockwise and has a negative effect, and we have to change that. So that would be, you know, if the shungite does that and changes it in the house, happy days. I still have the Lemurian plugged in. Do you have your plug?
I do. It's still plugged in now. I'm not noticing any harmony in the house, as I said.
Only hairspray. That's it.
Yeah.
Harmony hairspray.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't know anything about that.
Would you not?
No.
Okay. Right.
I don't use hairspray, Alan.
Okay. Only for the weekend. I only have it for the weekend.
What? You only have hair for the weekend? You have to give it back.
They call me Alana during the weekend, you know.
Alana? Oh, okay. Look, I haven't really noticed any difference either. And as you say, when the next electricity bill comes in, maybe there may be some reflection. I honestly don't know, but if someone, you know, said to me a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the Lemurian plug, unfortunately at this moment in time it would have to be a thumbs down, because I haven't actually noticed any difference at all whatsoever.
There was, we have received emails from people who've bought the plug, and they said they've noticed the difference. So if it works for them, that's great. You know, happy days. But, you know, we really haven't noticed anything different, really. So I can't really give you feedback and say it's worked for us. But, I mean, each to their own, I suppose. You know, for the sake of $35, I suppose it's worth a punt. Plus delivery, by the way.
It's also worth mentioning as well, just in relation to if you do order anything from Walt's website, Shungite, thanks to Dougie, and I think was it Dougie, and also for Peter. I'm guessing now. Well, someone did mention in relation to there was a 23. Is it Dougie? Yeah, customs charge £23 on it's obviously an import duty of some description. So yeah, you're obviously going to have to factor
coming into Ireland
into the price. Well, no, Dougie was Dougie's in across the water, so it was £23 sterling. So whatever that would equate to in euro, I suppose that will have to be paid as a luxury tax as well if you are importing the shungite.
Well, it used to be, you know, it used to be €100, and then they thought we're not making enough money from this, so they reduced it down to €20. So if the item is more than €20, you're going to be charged luxury tax if your package gets stopped. Sometimes they don't get stopped and they come straight through. It's going to have a look at the draw, so you'll have to say. Unless, of course, you buy the item for $1 and the shipping is $50, then, you know, not that I'm implying that people should do that.
No.
But if somebody did send you something and they put down the value as $1 and the shipping was $50, well then, obviously, you know.
Or if they smashed it up before they sent it and said it was a do-it-yourself kit.
Yeah, that's why you get the shungite powder, you know, do it yourself, put it together. Right, okay, well listen, we're finishing up and we're passing over to People's Internet Radio. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As I say, next week we have Byron Jenkins from The Hub and Katrina Kumbungu, who's a regressional hypnotherapist. For myself, Alan James, take it easy. If you have any information, send it in to us and we'll try our best to have a look at it, and then maybe it might be a topic for the show for next week. So that's it. So next time you'll hear us beyond the United We Strike, United We Start. Force to habit, really. We've done that for so many years. United We Start Radio Marathon on Saturday, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Only 2 hours.
Do remind me continuously about this, please, because I've missed every one of them.
Yeah, Steve's missed every one of them since we've started, you know. Getting to be a habit now. Okay, so we will remind you for next week. Alright, for myself, take it easy, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm not sure. Oh, actually, I am sure. Stephen Roberts he's up next on People's Internet Radio. So, Stephen, hope you have a great show. We're going to sever the stream now. Thanks to everyone who joined us on both of the chat rooms. You're most welcome. You have been very welcome. And thanks for all your comments and questions. If you're listening to us on the podcast, yes, thank you for downloading the podcast also. And, same time, same channel next week, OYM Radio, 7 to 9 p.m. Okay, until next week, sayonara.
Open your mind.